know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it a back day. Yeah, I got game, God in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Google signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing big things.
Welcome back, everyone, to the newest edition of Once a Week. I'm Billy Jan Ludis, and today, as you can see, we have an incredible special guest for you. Someone who truly studies and operates in the field I find so fascinating and so powerful. She is a hypnotherapist and past life healer with a goal and the drive to help you tap into your own creative power and truly achieve your dreams and your highest aspirations. She helps individuals unlock doors to their higher self, something that we talk a lot about here on Once a Week, tapping into the subconscious and overcoming those limiting beliefs. I'm excited to have you here, guys. Please welcome Mackenzie Flick. Mackenzie, I thank you so much for being here, and welcome.
Hi, Billy. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm just so excited. So thank you.
Yeah, right. No, we connected really randomly across like social media, LinkedIn and everything. But I saw your hypnotherapy. I saw what you do for work. And I was like, I want to put Mackenzie on the forefront because it's such powerful work. So dive into that. Like, for people that don't know hypnotherapy, like I was telling you before we started recording, I explained I was interviewing a hypnotherapist today, and people didn't know what that was, or what does that work? What do we do? So give people an overview. Like, one, what is that? But two, how did you even get into hypnotherapy? What sparked you to follow that for yourself?
Sure. So it's so funny how people don't know that much about hypnotherapy. Maybe because it's something that I do day in and day out.
Right.
It
I
just
get that.
seems so normal to me now. But hypnotherapy, it is not about making someone cluck like a chicken, which I get
Yeah,
that a
right.
lot. This is all about being able to really uncover the unseen aspect of self that is sitting in the subconscious that's holding us back. Because we live in this paradigm that our conscious mind is in control, and it's not at all. And everything that we're experiencing in our reality is a reflection of the very beliefs that we hold about ourselves. So the idea is we really want to go deep. And if there is something that is not, how do I say this? Let's say there's something in your reality that just doesn't feel right. You don't like it. Well, my question is, what is driving that? And this can be a really hard leap for some people to take because it's like, how am I creating this? But the
Right.
subconscious is creating that. So when I go in with my clients, we want to get to the very root of what's creating particular issues and circumstances in one's
Right.
life. So that's why you want to use something like hypnotherapy, because you're going to use your own source,
Right.
your vehicle, and go into the subconscious so you can see exactly how something was created. And the
Exactly.
beauty is when you can see that you created it, you can uncreate it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Mhm.
I love that. And exactly that for listeners right now. Hypnotherapy is so powerful, but your subconscious, your conscious, your unconscious mind, it makes up who you are. So
Mhm.
when our limiting beliefs or our subconscious is made up of limiting beliefs for that matter, it dictates the results we get in life.
Right.
So to be able to spend time with yourself or go to a hypnotherapist and they can guide you through this entire process to be able to, one, figure out where it came from. That's healing in itself.
Right.
But two, to look at it and realize, oh, that's why I do what I do. And
Mhm.
then, I like to say the phrase, does it serve you anymore? Because we create limiting beliefs in life because at one time or another, it served us, it protected us, it kept us safe. And then, but as we grow older, it might not be creating the results we want. So we have to either heal it or be like, realize, okay, that's why I do this. That's not me anymore. And
Right.
we then essentially create a new belief. We heal it, but we create a new belief to then move forward on. So with you stepping into that, Mackenzie, did you have to kind of go through your own process of your own hypnotherapy to become a hypnotherapist? And essentially, what are my limiting beliefs? Did you ever have to cross your own limiting beliefs and heal from those, or past experiences,
Oh,
pain,
yeah.
whatever? Yeah.
Yeah. And I still do every day.
Yeah.
Every day. But it's almost like you become the expert at realizing, oh man, look at this behavior. Look at this pattern. Where is this coming from? Where is this self-sabotage coming from? And
Yeah.
really being able to identify what is holding you up.
Right.
And we're not going to be able to reprogram every single belief system that we have within us in one lifetime.
For sure.
That's just
Right.
not going to happen. But
Yep.
you do want to find that one dominant, that one big energetic belief that is running and driving everything, and you want to turn that around.
Yeah. Right.
And I really came into the awareness of this and even beyond just belief systems, but just energy in general, because a
Nice.
belief is nothing but a frequency.
For sure. Yep.
Because I was just burnt out. And
Hmm.
this is back in my 20s. And I'm telling you, Billy, I had the weirdest things happen, like
Yeah.
one after another. And no matter what I would do in my professional life, like nothing could work out.
Mm.
I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And I would put my full heart and soul into something. I did all the right things. I would get something where it was supposed to. And it was almost like the universe literally came in and dismantled it in the most
Mm.
destructive way. Like you
Right.
can't even make up the stories. And
Yeah.
this happened to me working in medical device sales.
Okay.
And this one surgeon, he was on board with this hernia mesh that I was selling. It was phenomenal.
Hmm.
And he wanted to even become a consultant for me and my company. And this one surgeon would have put my business into the six figures. I mean, that's
Okay.
the kind of situation. And I can't go into the details of it, but something happened that was just completely out of my control. And I
Okay.
get this
Yep.
phone call and I'm like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
what is happening? And it was overnight, the whole thing was dismantled. But it was a pattern that I was noticing. Like
Mm.
right when it was right there, it's almost like you're about to sign the contract to something, boom.
Yeah.
And I knew intuitively that there was an energy running my life.
Nice. Yep.
And I'm like, what is this? You know? And it wasn't until I got connected with one of my energy healers later
Okay.
on in life, and she took a look at my energy, and there was a subconscious sabotage,
Mm.
literally ruining my life.
Yeah.
so,
Right.
so I initially got into energy clearing,
Okay.
clearing
Gotcha.
blocked emotions, but
Yep.
that just naturally led into healing and cleansing belief systems too.
Yeah.
Well, when I was thinking, well, this is the type of work I want to go into, how can I do this in a practical manner? Getting
Nice.
my hypnotherapy certification was a no-brainer.
Yep. Right.
So that's how I got into this work.
Okay, I love that. And then you mentioned so many key points in that overview that I want people to listen and really open up to, because I think there's so many different frames to look at the world through. There are many different belief systems to look at the world through, whether it is faith and spirituality or religiosity or energy aspects. They're all intertwined. So for people listening, when Mackenzie mentions energy healing, or she went into say the emotions, we've said here before on Once a Week, and I love teaching people this: your energy or your emotion that you experience is your energy in motion. That's where the term comes from. So
Mhm.
when Mackenzie's going over the energy aspect, people could be experiencing so much joy, so much love in life. You're operating at a loving energy. Or if you're experiencing fear, depression, or powerlessness, grief, whatever it is, you're operating at that lower level energy. So
Mhm.
when we go through traumatic experiences or painful experiences, sometimes those get, in a way, locked in motion, and that's where you're operating from, an insecurity. And Mackenzie, I completely connect with you. It's funny that we're talking about this now. Yesterday, believe it or not, I went to, I love to be in the gym and whatnot, but I went to go do sprints and work out and whatnot, and that's my time to get away, to really kind of be with myself, to connect, to really, in a way, meditate in some forms. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at different parts of my life, whether it's business, whether it's relationship, whether it's family, whatever it is. And I started to kind of go deeper and realize certain insecurities were still there from past experiences in relationship, past experiences in business, past
Mhm.
experiences in family. And I sat there for a second, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm still operating from this fear, this insecurity that I'm going to get the same result when I'm with so and so, or when I'm with this, or with this
Yeah.
opportunity. And so I had this great spiritual moment where I kind of, one, forgave myself for that, because it served me at one time. It protected
Mhm.
me at one time. It was safety at one
Right.
time, but that was years ago.
Right.
So I came to a place where I was able to heal that and move forward. And you kind of feel like a weight falls off your shoulders,
Mhm.
metaphorically, but also at the same time physically, where it's like, oh my goodness, like that was, I was holding that, I was carrying that with me everywhere. So I go through that. I feel so much greater about that. But then someone approached me in the gym this morning and explained like his anxiety has been so bad. He didn't understand why. And I said, all right, man, like, well, what's causing anxiety? What's causing the nerves to spark? And he's like, man, I don't know. This happens every couple of months or so. There's just a week span of anxiety every so often. I can't do it. I'm like, all right, man. Well, we don't have to identify what actually caused it, but you need to ask yourself the right questions. Is what is that anxiety serving? At one time in your life, what did that
Mhm.
anxiety protect? What did it keep you safe from? What did it like fight or flight for sure, but it kept you protected from something. You might not be able to identify what it is, but to then look at yourself and realize, does this still serve me? And if it doesn't, that's the limiting belief you can then heal, empower
Mhm.
yourself, create a new belief. So I say all that to people that one, to connect to Mackenzie, but two, for people listening, until you really start to take an introspective look at yourself and your life, you don't really know what beliefs you're living out. You know, we could have a grounding, a foundational point of faith. Maybe it's a specific religion in the world that you are foundationally grounded on, but still you operate out of personal beliefs and introspective beliefs that then dictate your emotions, your relationships, and everything. So when we identify that, we then can move forward or heal or grow in all these areas connected to that foundational point, but also that we walk in every single moment of every day. So
Mhm.
Mackenzie, that is so much like packed into it, but you bring so much to the table. So that's how you got into it. What's it like now? Like, what are you doing now with hypnotherapy? Because you're helping people. You mentioned even the past life aspect, which we can dive into. But what's life like now as a hypnotherapist? Because you've done the healing work for yourself, as you said, you do every day for yourself. And I think
Right.
everyone needs to understand that. Like professionals in the world still go through something, you know, so we're constantly doing it. But what's life like now as the hypnotherapist?
Well, life as a hypnotherapist and a past life healer, it's like two things, but kind of one.
Mhm.
I just
True,
love,
it's very
I
connected.
mean, I love what I do.
Yeah,
And it really does feel like this very soul aligned. This is what I was designed to do. It's just easy for me. It's just I know exactly
nice.
what to do and how to do it. And it really drives me to be able to help people to tap into that area where they're trying to scratch it, but they can't get
Mhm,
it,
for sure.
you know. And I feel like I really help become that catalyst for that.
Cool. Okay.
So
Yeah.
I really love what I do because it's so creative and it's not just talking about it's not just the subconscious. I
Yeah.
mean, we
Right.
really go deep into all these different things and my mind is blown almost over every session because I
Yeah.
learn something new every day from my clients.
Awesome.
I'm like,
Right.
"What? That's a
Yeah.
thing?" Like, "Whoa," you know? And
Right.
everyone is so different.
Yep.
Your energetic blueprint is different. Your
True.
past
Yeah.
lives are different.
Hmm.
Your upbringing is different, and you just never know what's going to come forward, and I'm like, "Okay, well, that's a first," and I feel like I
Yeah.
say that, like, every day.
For sure. All right. I get that. I love that though. And like, that's the beauty of it. And for people listening that have not experienced the idea of past life or past life regression or past life healing, past life is, you know, some people don't believe in this. I think the more you study it, the more it becomes so apparent. But your soul, not you, but your soul has lived past lives to learn lessons to grow in this lifetime, learns a lesson, passes the test, moves on to the next lesson, right? And that's just
Right.
summing it all up real quickly. But when we identify, like I love the author. I don't know if you've ever read any of his books, Mackenzie, but Brian Weiss. He has
Oh,
got
yeah,
Messages from the Masters. He's a
love it.
hypnotherapist, world renowned, and some of his case studies in his book are fascinating beyond belief.
Mhm.
So when you're helping someone identify a past life or healing a past life concept, have there been any of your own case studies where it's like, wow, that person, you could see the healing in that one moment where learning that, oh, something happened back in the day and that sparked why you're going through this right now. So when you identify that, it kind of heals it, kind of reverses the roles for a second, moves it forward, and you kind of take 10 steps of progress forward after that. Have there been any great case studies like that for you?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
I have probably 10, I don't have them with me, like, huge notebooks of just all past life information.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's wild the stuff that
Yep.
comes up from
Right.
traumas, patterns, and even if we're still talking about belief systems,
Yep.
how different one belief system can play out.
True. I get that. Right.
And that's what I'm looking for. So, just to be clear, I don't use hypnotherapy as a source for getting into past lives, actually.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah.
It's just subconscious belief
Yeah.
system stuff. It can come up, but the modality that I use is not really for past life at all.
Okay. Yeah.
But what I do is I channel past life energy.
Nice. Okay.
And so what I do is I connect with the higher self
Hmm.
of, said client and their spirit team. And then I usually need my guides to translate because I'm used to their energy. So it makes it much
Okay.
easier. So it's
Yeah.
like a whole team.
That's
And the
awesome.
question is what is contributing to this problem?
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
for example, I had one woman not too long ago get on my calendar because she's just stuck,
Yeah.
stuck, stuck.
Hmm.
And the first thing that came through was, is she stuck or is she unwilling?
Ooh. Okay. Gotcha.
And so sometimes there's some hard truths that come through.
Yeah. For sure.
But when I said that to her, she's like, oh,
That's awesome.
she's like, it's so true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she knew. But what was wild was what was holding her up was just like what you're saying. What is
Hmm.
the benefit
Yeah.
to being
Right.
stuck?
Yeah.
And there was a huge benefit because she's gotten herself into trouble
Hmm.
so many different times, especially in past lives,
Yeah.
because we remember it at a cell level. We do remember
Exactly.
it. Our
For sure.
conscious mind does not, which is why it can be so confusing because
Right.
every time she puts herself out there and feels like she does what she's supposed to do, she gets into trouble over it.
Hmm. Okay.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, isn't that interesting? And one of the lives that came up too, what was it? It was some strange stuff,
Okay.
but she
With the
definitely
same
had
woman or a
some
different woman?
same woman.
Okay.
She
Gotcha.
had some witch wounds,
Okay.
so she was afraid to kind of put herself out there professionally over things
Gotcha.
because of it. But
Wow.
one of the more interesting past lives that came up in that. So this is the kind of belief that I'm talking
Hmm.
about. Is like I will get myself into trouble
Yep.
when I show up myself.
Okay.
And one way that this played out was I was seeing her on a boat like she was some sort of military official.
Okay.
And it almost felt like Navy SEALs-ish, but kind of like more in the olden days.
Gotcha.
So she's on this boat and she had this direct order to not pick anybody up in the water because there was some like threat or whatnot. But then she found as this male, someone was like in the water floating and he just looked like a poor guy, right? Like
Hmm.
he just needed help. He floated away like some fisherman. And she disobeyed and let this guy into the boat, but it was actually like a pre-planned attack on him. And he got
Wow.
himself in really big trouble for this because the guy like pulled a knife or a gun and then like everyone else had to get involved and it became this whole thing. And so she was punished for what she felt was doing the right thing, which was like saving a life.
Right.
And that was such a hardcore trauma for her. For
Yeah.
some reason, that moment created so many different karmic imbalances because she
Wow.
judged herself so deeply over it. It's like she
Hmm.
ended up rejecting herself.
Okay. Gotcha.
So it was getting played out by her just not really taking any action, really not
Yeah.
doing anything and not being authentic. So we had a lot of stuff to clear in that. So that's how these type of belief systems and stuff will
That's
run
awesome.
through these different lifetimes. And that's what we want to
Okay.
identify and clear.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that so much, and I love this topic because it's. I will say it's next level for people listening right now. But when you start to even just tiptoe into that next level, it opens up so much knowledge. It opens up so much
Mhm.
healing. It opens up so much wisdom, we can say.
It
But
does.
it's truly, I even explained it to someone today where uh, we don't understand how vast one the universe is, but how vast the mind itself is. And you have your, as we said before, you have your conscious, your subconscious, your unconscious mind. in most of us just try and operate out of the conscious, but we don't take a look
Mhm.
at what's going on behind the scenes in the unconscious or the subconscious. But
Right.
if we look at the mind, or the brain for that matter, as a supercomputer, as it is, it can do anything,
Mhm.
create anything, it can help you in any situation you have. If we look, your brain holds a vast amount of information. If we think of a computer holds a terabyte of memory, your brain itself, your mind in that aspect, holds probably 1.4 million terabytes of information. So
Mhm.
if we think there and we think about all that we know in the world, that's just a fraction of it, because your subconscious and your unconscious is holding all of the information, as Mackenzie just touched on, at a cellular level,
Mhm.
in of all your past lives, in this conscious and unconscious and subconscious concept. So for people listening right now and are open to this topic, you yourself could be living out lessons that you were supposed to learn millennia ago.
Right.
And now your soul, your spirit has come back into this lifetime to try and learn those again. The beauty is we were given free will. We can choose to learn the lesson or choose to not learn the lesson, but it's going to keep popping up until we start to face it, as you just touched on with this woman. Are you afraid to, or are you unwilling to? And I think
Mhm.
more often than not, most people are unwilling to
Yeah.
look at themselves in the mirror and really realize I think the toughest
Yeah.
thing in this day and age is to sit with yourself and
Oh,
realize what's going on.
right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah,
And that is difficult for people to hear too.
sure. Right?
And I've gone negative viral on TikTok over this stuff too,
Really? Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
because I went into talking about spirituality on TikTok very naively.
Okay.
I'm like, this stuff just seems so like normal to me just because I've,
Yep. It's part
it's
of
what
you.
I do. I mean, whatever.
Exactly. Right?
But when you post content
Yeah.
that basically illuminates the fact that one is responsible for their lifetime, watch out.
Get a lot of pushback.
No.
Exactly.
You get all the comments like, I didn't ask for this and I didn't ask for that. Like it gets really ugly. And I'm telling you, I almost closed shop at one
Yeah.
point. And
I
I'm
get
like, this is trauma for me. Like,
that.
here's my
Yeah.
witch wound. I cannot take this negativity. But I've had to sort of just,
Yep.
just kind of deal with it, right? Not that I like it, but it doesn't create that physical reaction in me anymore because I had to heal the belief systems around it.
Yeah.
But
For sure.
but that's a really hard jump for people to
Yep.
take.
Right.
And because it does require you to look at your pain in the face.
For sure.
And that's a
Yep.
leap of consciousness. And a lot of people now in the time of ascension are being forced into that now. And if
Yeah.
you're not dealing with it, I'm telling you, it's just going to get harder until you're forced to deal with it.
Right.
So take
Exactly.
care of it now.
Yeah.
Start
No.
do the shadow work, the clearing, the hypnotherapy. It's absolutely vital.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And that's why I try and emphasize so much here on Once a Week is take time for yourself. I've probably said that in so many different episodes, but take time
Yeah,
for yourself. Whether it is, it could be meditating, it could be prayer, it could be a walk in the woods, it could be me with my
yes,
workouts. It's like that's my time to think, but to get introspective. And until you start to give yourself time to really dive into the internal, if you only focus on the external, you're missing out on what's creating the results in the external, which is
right.
the internal. All right. And it's just so fascinating. I even prior to us hopping on today, I was talking with an old friend of mine, and he's been a police officer for X amount of years now, and he's feeling like he's being called to step out of that, to really step into entrepreneurship and start his own business, and really get more in like houses and everything like this, real estate concepts, which is extremely successful. He's knowledgeable and whatnot. And I've known him for so long where I could see in my own right, like that was definitely part of his future. But
Mhm.
he wanted to meet with me today specifically because he was facing that fear of like, do I play it safe and just keep collecting a paycheck every single week, or do what I'm supposed to be doing and called to do? And,
Mhm.
we sat there, we hashed it out for probably like 2.5 hours, getting him to the place of being able to understand, like, you're supposed to do this. And when you can step through that threshold, that's kind of like stepping through that door, that next door that everyone dreams about. Oh, if this door can just open, all the blessings come through, or whatever it might be.
Mhm.
And getting him to realize, like, hey man, like, you chose to this route of your life for a reason. Opportunity, yes, it brought in money, surprise for the family, everything like that. But if you don't follow what's on your heart to do now,
Right.
I think it's always going to eat away at you. Like you can bury that down as much as you can, but if something's calling out to you, you got to listen to it.
I
And
agree.
again, as you said, in the time of ascension, it's going to pop up. I think life tries to, like, it's going to tiptoe you there at times until it's like, hey, go. And it's going to, like, if we're not, what's the phrase I like to describe it as? Because in my life, the depiction was when pain came to me, I got so comfortable at a time in my life where I wasn't really moving forward. And then I started to see the people around me start to shift and change and like talk behind my
Mhm.
back and everything. And like it just wasn't a good time. I felt like, sickness in a way.
Yeah.
And it was like I wasn't moving in step when life was trying to pull me to my dream of
Right.
helping people, of speak and everything. So life had to push me there, painful,
Right.
push me out the door until I was willing to get up, face what I needed to face, and move forward to where I'm meant to be. So a
Mhm.
lot of people, they don't move. And as you just touched on, Mackenzie, it gets harder. Life
Right.
gets harder and harder until you really look up and like, oh, I have to walk in this direction, or I have to look at myself in the mirror. People got to spend time with themselves, and it's the tough.
Right. Oh,
It
yeah.
stinks that it's one of the toughest things to do in this day and age. Because if
It
you get
is.
through that, it's the best thing in the world to spend time with yourself, to meditate, to go outside. It's like that's when you truly grow, as you touched on, ascend to a higher level, because it's all in here. You have to
Right.
do it. It's a spiritual journey, right?
It is. It's very interesting because in my 20s, when I
Yep.
was in medical device sales and still single and like living the city life,
Yep.
I was a busybody. I mean, there wasn't a minute that
Yep.
I wasn't busy. Like
Mm,
working, socializing, partying. Like I always had something going on. And
yep.
my best friend was like, Mac, like, why are you always busy?
Yeah.
And I stopped because it did kind of take me a little bit because I just
Mm,
thought, I'm just doing my thing. And this thought came up like in my body. And I go, because if I stand still, I am terrified of what I would see.
mm, yeah. Right.
And that was a big moment for me. Sorry, that little bug. That was a
That's
big moment for me because I knew there was something there,
Yep.
but I didn't know like what it was or how to go about it.
Yep.
And when I started the healing work, I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
there
Right.
it is.
That's awesome.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And so people listening, it happens to all of us,
Hmm.
right? But people see it in me where it's like I've heard people reach out to me before where it's like, hey man, it's really great to see you never gave up on yourself. You're following what you always said you would do.
Hmm.
So I always ask the question, it's like, well, does that mean you gave up on what you wanted to do? But I bring that up here and now because Mackenzie, you've gotten to a place where you're pursuing what you were called to do, what was on your heart, what you're helping
Right.
people, what you're with your hypnotherapy, or if it's the past life aspect, you're not, maybe you are just as busy as you were, but you're not the same person that you were when your friend had to ask you, why are you always busy? It's like we're trying to play flash forward and get so far ahead into the future, so whatever is back there won't catch up to us. And then until we stop, it's like, oh, that's what it was, and we
Hmm.
heal, and then it's like all life kind of comes together.
Yeah.
So people listening, are you someone that is trying to I want to say run away from whatever you're supposed to face,
Hmm.
and then really and then when you're supposed to face it so you can heal it, and then whatever it is, maybe it is hypnotherapy for someone listening right now, maybe it is coaching for someone listening right now, but
Right.
there's something you're supposed to step into. And I think the
Hmm.
more we race forward in life, the more we miss out on the lessons that are going to help us get us there quicker. But we
Right.
live in a day and age where it's go 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 mentality. That's not
Hmm.
what it's about. It's like slow it down, and
Right.
then you kind of learn what action steps it takes to move forward. But regardless, Mackenzie, I think that's fascinating though, where you kind of see where all the dots kind of connect when you give yourself time to how you get to this moment here and now, where you're
Right.
helping people and doing what you love. That's awesome.
Hmm.
So with you being a hypnotherapist, like what kind of nowadays, like you mentioned you do social media stuff, you got clients, you got people on the calendar and everything, what sparks you the most about being a hypnotherapist? Because you obviously see so many different clients, you see so many different people pop up, there's healing there.
Hmm.
What's the driving force behind that for you? Is it helping people? Is it the experience? Like what's that for you right now?
It's hard to articulate because it really is more of just a feeling.
Yeah.
It's a feeling of really being able to express that inner feeling of just, this is what I'm supposed to do, you know?
Yeah,
It's
the
just,
calling. Exactly.
yeah,
Right?
because I just know I enjoy it when I do
Yep.
it. My clients are getting results and they enjoy it.
Yep.
And it's just that inner knowing. And I think after being in corporate and sales for years, the majority of my working life, and really not liking a single minute of it,
I get that.
because I just didn't feel like what I was doing was contributing to anything. And
Right.
now I feel like I'm contributing.
Yeah. Right.
So that's what I love about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And for one thing I learned back in the day is contribution. It's a need of the spirits. We have 6 human needs. Tony Robbins teaches this. You got certainty, you got uncertainty, you got love, connection, um, significance, growth, and contribution. Growth and contribution are the needs of the spirit. So when you're pursuing one of those, if not both of those, you're growing on a spiritual level to what your calling is in life, to what your purpose is in life. And
Right.
last Sunday, our message was a solo message for me is like, what's your purpose? How to find your purpose. And it's exactly what you just touched on, Mackenzie, that you're fulfilling and living out for yourself right now, where it starts out as an impulse. I
Hmm.
want to see what that's all about, and
Right.
like, I really like that. Then it shifts into excitement. I want more of this. And
Right.
then you start to really move into inspiration, meaning in spirit, the root word is ignited. You're calling, you're following your calling, which
Right.
leads into your purpose. Oh my goodness, I'm doing this on a daily basis. This is incredible.
Right.
So I love that concept where it's a feeling tone that you're living by now that is showing you, hey, you're exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to do. And something tells me, Mackenzie, in your work as a hypnotherapist, you're helping people find that in themselves too. Not just a healing past aspect, but in a current moment. When you heal, you start to kind of see more of what is my calling. And so I say that to listeners right now. It's possible going through a hypnotherapy session with Mackenzie can bring you to that realization. Because as she just touched on, every single client is different. You never know what information is going to come through to help you, because as she went in, like every session is different, whether it's a past life concept for that matter, there's higher help, ready to guide your soul to where you're meant to be. So
Right.
now I got to ask the question, Mackenzie. I know I'm going off on a rant, but as much as you love the hypnotherapy and the past life concept, which one do both of them light you up the same? Like I love both of this the same level, or does one kind of call you a little bit more? Like is it past life? Is it hypnotherapy? Is it together? What would you say?
Well, it's kind of hard to answer because, in
Yep.
terms of getting results for my clients, okay,
Yep.
I love the hypnotherapy more because they get to do it themselves. Like, I guide,
True. That makes sense. Yeah.
but it's a
Yep.
different experience when you get to see,
Yeah.
like, in your own mind how something was created. It's a completely different experience because even though I call myself a past life healer, healers really aren't real. It's
Yep.
just we're the
Hmm.
catalyst for you to heal yourself. So that's why I like the
For
hypnotherapy.
sure. Right.
But it's also then for me on a practical level, someone else's modality, where my past life healing sessions are all
Mm.
mine. So I get excited because
Yeah.
this is just a very deep soul skill set that I've been reconnected with. And so it just feels good to have it back. I'm
Right.
like, oh yeah, I've done this. And when I first started doing these past life healing sessions, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, well, I know I could
Yeah.
see it. Let's just try. And then all of a sudden, like
Yeah.
spirit starts coming in. They're like, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. And then I all of a sudden just intuitively knew exactly what to do. And I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I've done this for lifetimes. So that
That's,
energizes me. But at the same time, there are specific clients that just need that too,
yeah. Right.
because
I
a
get
lot
that.
of the work is getting done on the other side.
Exactly. Right.
And things that the subconscious couldn't necessarily handle
Yeah.
and stuff. So,
Right.
so it's all fun, but sometimes we need both, and that's why I created a program where we can bridge those together and
Perfect.
do all the stuff and do it a completely top to bottom energetic breakdown of someone, so they can
Yeah.
step into that new state of
Go
consciousness.
deeper into that. So if people listening want to know about the program, what's it about?
Well, yeah,
Hmm?
let's talk about this because it is really interesting. how this all came together as well, because I've been working with so many different healers and psychic mediums over the years. And I've been able to really tune into when something comes up for me, oh, I need to go to this person, I need to go to that person. But a lot of people don't really know what type of resources and connections are even available to them when it comes to this type of healing
True.
work. So I created a program where
Mm.
it's me and my entire team of healers. And over a period of 6 months, they get access to all of us with specific sessions scheduled in a specific amount of time to be able to start, like I was saying, acknowledging the unseen aspect of self. So they can start turning their life around, reach their goals, create their life however it is that they desire. But we're just coming in at a high level, being like, okay, we got to do this, we got to handle that. I mean, even one client recently, the big problem, this is the type of stuff, again, like our mind cannot
Yeah.
come to this conclusion, but she would not stay in her body
Okay. Mm.
because she's so resistant to the earthly experience.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So my healer, one of them had like 3 times throughout the program, had to literally pull her back in. And
Mm.
you may have heard it's called a soul retrieval.
Okay. Yep.
And there's just specific aspects of the soul that leave, like fragments. It's
Okay.
weird. I'm telling you.
Wow.
I think this stuff can get weird too. But she was so scattered. And when I first went into her energy, I'm like, man, she is so hard to read. Well, that's because parts of her weren't even there.
Mm.
So once we started bringing that in, she could get more clear. And then her psychic medium gifts just like came in like this. And I was like,
Okay.
whoa,
Wow.
that's crazy. But once you bring in and ground that and stabilize the energy on a spiritual level, that's when you
Yeah.
can start getting in tune with all this kind of stuff.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Wow. So with this program that you have, is it online? How do people get into this program? If people listening right now, are like, oh, that's kind of intriguing. What's that about? How do they learn more, or what's it all about?
They do have to apply
Okay. Yep.
because there is specific criteria, because the goal is to improve your life.
Yep. Yep.
And some people just are not quite ready for that type of transformation. It's
Sure.
too much, and I
Makes
understand
sense.
that.
Yeah.
But I find that people that get on my calendar and apply for it, like they've already reached a specific state of awareness.
Okay. Yeah.
And they're like, "Yes, okay. I know what I need. I know what I need to do." And they just hop right in and we just start
Mm.
getting to work.
Nice.
So people who are really stuck, let's say they can't get themselves like out of depression and have really severe anxiety issues, highly would not recommend this program.
Okay. Yeah.
It's for those that have already done a little bit of work but are really ready to up level the healing
Mm.
work is what
Right.
this is about. So they
Yeah.
can apply. It's called the Alchemist Ascension Program.
Wow. Okay.
Take a look at that. But there are other ways to work with me too if you wanted to just schedule, you know, single sessions. That's great. But this
Perfect.
program is going to give you more of that transformation, because my goal is I want you to not need me. So
Yep.
I give you the set of tools as well to
Nice.
know when certain things like past life energy starts showing up. You just
Okay.
know what to do. You clear it on your own. And I always joke with my clients by like month 4 or 5, I'm like, you don't need me anymore. Like,
Yeah.
see you later.
Yeah.
But they know what to do.
Yeah.
So that's the goal, is to teach people how to
Yeah.
heal themselves.
That's awesome. That's what I always love with the coaching aspect. I always tell everyone like my end goal is to make sure I don't see you again. Because at that point you have all the tools to make sure it's
Yes,
like you don't need me to hold your hand anymore. If we bring you there, like obviously still friends after sessions, but if you can get to a place where you can walk with your own head held high because you understand the tools, you know how to move forward,
right.
that's the goal of any teacher for that matter, of any coach, of
Mhm.
any hypnotherapist, or I'm going to ask you the question of the alchemist aspect, but to teach someone. I believe it's said that the greatest teacher in the world is not one that surpasses their students, but one that brings their students to a level to teach, because then you're walking
Yeah,
together,
right.
right? So, but no, I think that's phenomenal because the goal is to help people walk on their own 2 feet. So, backtracking a little bit, the name of your program with the alchemy aspect, alchemy is it's a big concept for people. So
Mhm.
describe, I guess, even just the definition of that, but describe to people what that looks like. Because alchemy, like that dates back a long time. But like, what would you say in your own words so people listening, if they've never heard that before, how would you describe it?
So alchemy in general is just a transmutation of energy.
Right. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
think of, you want to transmute, rock into gold sort of thing. But what we're doing and why I call it the
Uh-huh.
alchemist is because we're just
Yep.
energy. We're composed of energy. And there's no good or bad
Yeah.
energy. It just
Right.
is. But we want to take some of that lower vibrational energy because it's still there. There's still something for us to work with. That's that shadow energy I'm talking about.
Hmm.
And we want to transmute
Yeah.
it into a higher vibration. So that's what
Hmm.
we're doing. We're looking at that aspect of self, your energy, your blocked emotions, and we're transmuting that out.
That's
So you
awesome.
can have an
Yeah.
expanded state. Because I think spirituality and healing is an actual physical process.
I
It's
agree
not
with that.
concept, it's physical.
Mhm.
We just have
Yeah.
been unaware of it because we have these deep seated traumas and blocked karma, blocked emotion, literally sitting in our tissues.
Yeah.
And that's why
Right.
when people do the healing work, they say they feel physically lighter because they physically are lighter. You're
Yeah.
transmuting that energy and filling yourself with light, source energy,
Yeah.
spiritual energy, that life
I
force
get that.
energy that,
Yeah.
acupuncturists always talk about.
I get that.
And you become an expanded vehicle.
Yes. Right.
And that's what we're doing inside the program.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that so much because, I like to teach in my seminars and my workshops. I always lead off with it. We're human beings, we are spiritual beings, but we are also energetic beings.
Right.
And, everyone listening right now, I wholeheartedly believe you have a spirit, but I wholeheartedly believe also that you are energy. We learn it in grade school, all states of matter, so there's energy coursing through us. But to be able to do that concept that Mackenzie's talking about right now for listeners and viewers, that is so powerful.
Hmm.
And if you are someone listening right now where you are intrigued by it or you want to step into that concept, like we're going to get to it where Mackenzie's links and everything are in the description. She's going to tell you in a little while. But at the same time, if you're intrigued by it, reach out to her because there's so much information there that one podcast episode can't really grasp all of it together. But it's so fascinating in my own right because when you start to realize your energy and you
Hmm.
are energy, not just
Right.
your energy, but you are energy and you can heal those parts of yourself and there's parts of yourself that drag down. I've even talked to people in a fitness concept where they just can't lose weight. They can't lose weight whatsoever. And it's not so much the diet, it's not so much the cardio, it's not so much the lifting. There's something holding that back, and it's usually a trauma, which is
Oh, yeah,
it's an energy held in the body, and that's kind of it's not leaving for some reason because it needs to be healed. That's an energy aspect.
it
So for
is.
people listening, Mackenzie's is what she's talking about could literally be affecting every single aspect of your life. And until you start to become aware of it, which I hope this episode does for you, and just kind of even if it just sends off one light bulb over the course of this podcast, it's starting you to become more self-aware, more
Right.
energetically self-aware. And that I believe is what Mackenzie's touching on with
Mhm.
who is right for this program. Someone that is aware, someone that has grown a little bit in who they are and what they need to move in, not necessarily someone coming in and is, I'm so depressed, help me get out of my depression.
Right.
That could be a factor, but someone that kind of knows the steps a little bit and then
Right.
can kind of move forward, right? Am I getting that right, Mackenzie? That's exactly, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome. And now, prior to us hopping on recording, you mentioned that you've also done workshops. You do stuff like that. Like,
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about that. And like, do you speak on the alchemy stuff? Do you speak on hypnotherapy? Like, what do you bring to audiences just as much, or what do you want to bring to audiences for that matter?
Right. Well, I would encourage people to connect with me on LinkedIn,
Okay.
actually,
Hmm.
because I have been building the last couple years a platform called My Soulchemy. And
Okay.
it's all about bringing awareness to this very thing that we're talking about. And now I'm bringing these awarenesses into the professional space
Nice. Mm.
because people are just ready for it. It's like, okay, we've done the corporate stuff. We've done the burnout. We've done it all.
Yeah.
But people have that drive to really bring about their best selves
Yeah.
professionally.
For sure.
And I really do think I have a huge key in how to make that happen, like
Nice.
practically, energetically, all of it. So I'm hosting the majority of my events now on LinkedIn. I had it in another platform before, but I've moved over there. So follow me there. That's where you
Okay.
can get access to a lot of the free stuff I do. And every once in a while, I'll throw in a free workshop where I'll take some volunteers It's actually kind
Nice.
of fun. I have one more story before we get going, but I will finish
No,
this.
yeah.
Your,
Right, right. Yeah, for sure.
but I will do workshops, for example, of past life energy that's holding people up. So I'll take volunteers and then we get on there and just kind of line them up. And I'm like, all right, here we go. And those are fun. You know what? I'm going to do that on LinkedIn.
There you go. Nice.
I love it. And I want you to be a guinea pig for this.
Okay, yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool? Okay, so I'm going to hold you to that. But I did a life purpose workshop. Okay, this is the craziest
Oh,
story.
wow. That's awesome.
One of my
Yeah.
favorite ever. Okay, because there's a little T to it. So I did a
Okay.
past life workshop, focus on life purpose. So I took these
Mhm,
volunteers so I could get the channel work done ahead of time. And I
mhm.
would have these people, don't know who they are, submit your problem sort of thing. And this woman was just like, I'm sick of my job. I can't get myself moving forward. I want to do my thing. And she was talking about like diaper trees. I'm like, what the hell are diaper trees? And she goes, no, I make trees out of diapers for like baby showers. And I'm like,
Okay.
but then she sent me photos and they were amazing. I'm like, that's really
Nice.
cool. So I tuned
Yeah.
in, and the first image I got was a Viking ship.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Where is this going? And I could see all these Vikings. Okay, it's going to get weird. And in the middle of this boat was a troll. And I could
Okay, yeah.
see, okay, tell you it gets weird. This troll was controlling everybody
Okay.
and was performing some sort of dark magic. And I could see this troll almost like mind controlling everyone to just be absolutely brutal. And then I
Wow.
saw her as this blonde woman, and she was the only female on this boat. And for some reason, the Vikings would not touch her.
Okay.
And I'm like, where is this going? This is so weird. Like I said, when I see stuff too, I'm like, okay, this is new to me. This is the first time. And then the information that came through
Yeah.
was in this lifetime, she was a healer and her vibration was so high that what she was doing was she was kind of holding down the fort because Spirit was saying
Mm,
that there's a whole part of the Vikings history that is unknown to us today of what was really happening. And they were
okay.
saying that they were using dark black magic to create the level of havoc that they were. And they would place these curses where they would like go and wreak havoc on. So they were unable to
Wow.
rebuild themselves. And that is why they've been able to create such an impression over all of these different years. But she was placed there by spirit because of her vibration to basically make sure that they didn't totally destroy everything. So I'm telling
Wow.
her this
Mm,
story, and she goes, you know what's really weird? She goes, I literally just hung this painting on my wall like 2 months ago. She goes, I was in some like old shop, and there's this painting of a Viking ship. And there's all these Vikings, and in the middle of the boat is this blonde woman who has control of this. And she showed it to me in the middle of this workshop. She goes, this is so weird. And she just put it on her wall.
wow.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah, right?
Then, okay, I looked up and it's an actual thing. There are myths that
Wow.
trolls control the Vikings.
Wow. Oh my
Isn't
goodness.
that wild? I like
Yeah.
could not believe that. But here was the lesson and why this was being shared is that she's so busy cleaning up other people's messes that she takes
Mm,
no time to embrace her own gifts and purpose.
gotcha.
And
Wow.
it's a theme for her. It was a karmic pattern that needed to be cleared. And I go,
Wow.
look at you. Now you're making diapers. You're still cleaning up other people's messes.
True. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I just wanted to share that because that was one of the cooler workshops and kind of what will go down in some of these workshops. So back to the point,
Sure.
follow me on LinkedIn, connect with me on
Yep.
LinkedIn. That's where I'm going to be hosting the majority of my stuff. I do have some things coming up that are about to be launched. So I'll be
Okay.
sure to announce that over on LinkedIn as well. And I'll
For sure.
provide you my website and all the updated information will be on there as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, and I'll ask you to give people all that information in a second. I have a question about the visions that come through when, like, whether it's the workshop or like the troll and the Viking aspect. I always find it so fascinating when it's a channeler or whatever it is receives the imagery,
Hmm.
and it's because the imagery does not, it can, but it doesn't normally connect to what we see on a daily basis. So
Right.
when you're receiving information that it's a Viking ship and a troll and there's dark magic and something that would come out of a TV show or a movie or something like that, it's always fascinating to me because the interpretation of what that means, if people listening right now like, oh, that sounds so out there, but when you follow it through, it connected directly to that woman's life and the fact that she just bought the painting and like, oh, she'll
Yeah.
understand this. So when your guides are coming through, they have all this information. So they're not
Right.
necessarily speaking directly to Mackenzie, they're speaking directly to the woman, and Mackenzie is just there as the vocal piece. Am I
Right.
right with this? Yeah, right?
Right.
So
I'm just the channel for the
yep.
info. Right.
Exactly. And so if people listening right now hear this example in the workshop and they're like, oh, and you touched on Mackenzie, it gets weird and whatnot, but it might sound weird, but to that woman's soul that needed to hear it, it could have been spot on. So
Right.
for people listening and you're intrigued by it or like, oh, I don't know if I'd do that, never underestimate the information of the soul or the information of the soul that your soul needs to hear, or the spirit that your soul needs to hear that information, because it might come through in a completely different imagery, it might come through in a different vision, but it's what your soul needs to hear. And I think a
Exactly.
lot of people, right, again, a lot of people overlook
Mhm.
the fact that we live in a day and age where we want everything to look like everyone else, and it's like you were made different, so your message is supposed to be different.
Right.
So I just wanted to say that because I find it so fascinating when the imagery comes through, because it's never what we'd expect it to be. It's
Right.
always something, I don't want to say it's always, but it tends to be, in the examples I've heard before, out there,
Mhm.
but it just connects to the person that needs it. You never know what it's going to be,
Every time.
right?
Because
Yep.
sometimes I get info, I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that.
Yeah. Am I
Like,
supposed to say that? Like, I don't know.
yeah, I
Right.
say it, and every time they're like, "Yeah, I get it. Yep."
Yep.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
That's awesome. That also is the mark of a great hypnotherapist, but a great channeler too, because you don't let it stop you.
Mhm.
You're like, because if we let our ego in and like, oh, I'm not going to say that, you mess up the message, right? So for
Yeah.
you to like, all right, I'll just say it, and like, oh my goodness, I needed to hear that. That's exactly. It makes so much sense. You're leading in. You're leaning into it. It's like, all right, and you're going to see where it goes. It's always what they need to hear. So people listening, that's a mark of someone that knows their craft. So, I say all that, Mackenzie, lean to you now. You mentioned their website and everything. Tell them where they can find you. And then I'll ask you one more question after that. But tell them where they can find you, whether it's you mentioned LinkedIn, your website, your social media. Give them all the handles and everything right now.
So TikTok is my jam. That's where I got started and where I
Mm-hmm.
post content. It's at MacFlick. So MACKFLICK MacFlick. And that's where
Okay.
most of my social media content is. I do have an Instagram and I don't use it. I'm
Okay.
a TikTok kind of person. And I really hope they don't shut it down because
True. You never know.
I might have to actually get my Instagram game going. But that's where you can find me. And then my website is the same, macflick.com.
Okay. Perfect.
So those
Well,
are
there
my
you go.
major presence right now.
Okay, perfect. And people listening, people watching right now, that's going to be in the credits of this video. It's going to be in the YouTube description, so you can click right on. You can go right there, and you can see everything that Mackenzie's bringing to the table. But Mackenzie, I loved having you here. I definitely want to have you on again to dive deeper into these topics, because this was, to me, just a surface level aspect of how far your work goes, how deep your work goes. And I feel like there's so many great conversations to have on that. But is there a lasting message that you want to leave with anyone right now? Whether it could be about your work, you went over that, or a lasting message to help people in what you've received in your own walk, but also in your channels, everything like that. Is there any lasting message you want to leave with people right now before we close everything out?
Yes. And it's if you feel like there's untapped potential inside of you, I am encouraging you to scratch it.
Hmm.
Like, we need people to do that. We have too many closeted leaders. We have too many people stuck in these programs and belief systems that they're not worthy, they're not capable, and it's time to break the mold. because every person has something to give, and you feel like there's something to give, you need to absolutely follow that.
That's awesome. Do a whole nother video titled "Breaking the Mold" because
Mold.
that's like, right, and that's the thing though. I believe this generation now. You mentioned the term earlier, ascending. In this spiritual generation, it is exactly that, breaking the
Mhm.
mold. I think so
Yeah.
many people are called to that, and that's why we see so many people stepping out now and being themselves, but stepping out in their truly soul work. You know, whether it's someone following their purpose or helping people in this way, or stepping into hypnotherapy, whatever it is, people are stepping out now and breaking the old mold. So,
Mhm.
not to say creating a new mold, but living life. I think
Right.
that's what it is, because most people don't live life. Most people live by the old mold, or to
Right.
live closed off. Live your life. And so I echo those words, Mackenzie. I thank you so much for being here. I
Thank
thank you so
you.
much for sharing your knowledge and your programs. I want people listening right now to go check out Mackenzie's website, find her on LinkedIn. She mentioned there's so many tools that she's bringing to the table, workshops, programs, and everything, that you can find her there. Follow her on TikTok, and if if she gets back on Instagram, follow her on Instagram and see some content she has on there.
I'll provide that anyways, but I'll get to work. I'll get to work.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. But Mackenzie, I thank you so much for being here. It's been a blast. Guys, if you're tuning in, if you're listening right now, please like this message on YouTube, hit that thumbs up on below. Share this message with someone who you feel needs to hear it. It doesn't have to be to share Mackenzie's business. It doesn't have to be share Billy's business and help them through coaching or hypnotherapy or channeling aspects. If there is at some point in this message someone popped into your mind, there's a clear-cut sign to you that person needs to hear at least that part of the message, or the full video for that matter, to help them. The whole goal of Once a Week is to help people. So please share it to someone who you can help and be a part of lending a hand to them. And please subscribe to Once a Week if you've not already. I think just last week we broke 12,000 subscribers, which means we're growing. We're helping more people. Please become a part of it if you have not already. There you go. And lastly, guys, if you're in need of any hypnotherapy aspects or channeling aspects, go to Mackenzie's website. If you're in need of a coach who can step into some of the areas we discussed today, or to help you in certain areas for that matter, head to BillyGLifeCoaching.com. You can set up a free call with me. I'm right there for you. But I thank you for being here. And Mackenzie, once again, thank you so much. It's
Thank
been a
you.
blast.
I'll see everyone
Awesome.
next time.
All right, here we go. See you guys.
You know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it a back bay. Yeah, I got game, got in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Boo signing on, John to the Hancock.